Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome. I would like to advise all those present that notice of this regular meeting of February 16, 2022 has provided to the public in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey. Notice of time and place of this meeting has been included in the annual notice of meetings, which was posted and filed with the City Clerk and the Jersey Journal and the Star Ledger. An additional notice of the time and place was posted and filed with the City Clerk and forwarded to the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger on February 14, 2022. The regular meeting of the Municipal Council of the City of Bayonne is now in session. Roll call, please, Ms. Medina.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Galais?
Here.
Mr. La Palusa?
Here.
Mr. Perez?
Here.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Here. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance. I would just like to call out and welcome our Boy Scout troop here that's here tonight. They came early. They're getting a merit badge, right? Welcome. And I think we even have some of them have signed up to talk. So we look forward to that.
Okay. Our first item is an ordinance, a resolution actually, postponing final passage of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Bayonne in the County of Hudson, New Jersey, approving the form and authorizing the execution and delivery of a lease purchase agreement with the Hudson County Improvement Authority relating to the issuance of up to $95 million aggregate principal amount of the authority's guaranteed lease revenue bonds. This is postponing it again to the meeting of March 16th. It's moved by Mr. Perez. Mr. Galais, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
No.
02 is also a resolution which is moved by Councilmember Carroll, postponing the final passage of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, State of New Jersey, authorizing the guarantee of the payment of the principal of and interest on not exceeding the $95 million aggregate principal amount of the city's guaranteed lease revenue bonds. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
No.
03 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, adopting the redevelopment plan titled Redevelopment Plan Maris for the property identified as Block 13, Lot 1.01, 16, 17, 18, and 18B01 as shown on the official tax map, and which was introduced and passed the first reading at a meeting held December 15, 2021, was posted in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at the meeting of January 19, and was postponed to this meeting of February 16, and is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And resolution moved by Councilmember Perez, giving the ordinance second reading. Ms. Nadrowski, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, adopting a redevelopment plan titled Redevelopment Plan Maris for the property identified as Block 13, Lots 1.01, 16, 17, 18, and 18B01, as shown on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Somebody?
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Stolz from the firm of Lowenstein Sandler. I'm here this evening on behalf of our client, 1241 JFK Boulevard IPX LLC, formerly known as Peninsula Court LLC. They're the owner of the Marist High School property located along JFK Boulevard. And we're here again to make a statement in support of Ordinance 03 on the agenda this evening, adopting the redevelopment plan for the Marist site. So I appreciate you giving me another opportunity to speak in furtherance of this project. We last appeared before the council on January 19th, and at that time we requested that the council adopt Ordinance 03, despite recent articles indicating that the Turnpike Authority had an interest in acquiring the Marist site in connection with the Newark Bay Hudson County Extension Program. And to address any concerns that the council or the public may have had in connection with adopting the ordinance would somehow jeopardize or hurt anticipated capacity improvements across the Newark Bay, we had also indicated and confirmed at that time that our client is eager to work with the city and the Turnpike Authority toward the goal of using the Marist site to help improve traffic capacity in and out of the city of Bayonne. So in response to the question this evening as to why the ordinance should still be adopted, we think the answer is fairly simple. Doing so ensures that the Marist site can still have a chance of being redeveloped in a way benefiting and befitting its location, truly as the gateway entry to the city of Bayonne. And this would be to the extent that the Turnpike Authority ultimately determines that it does not actually need or require the entire site for its improvement program. But putting these justifications aside, what's really lost here in our discussion and lost in the message that was from our meeting in the time since is that our client really didn't ask to be put in a situation in the position that we're in this evening. As the council knows, it was the city that had originally looked to acquire the Marist site, and they did that project for approximately 2 years before they ever approached our client to be a prospective redeveloper. During that time, the city was working with a different private developer, and they ultimately authorized investigations under the redevelopment law to designate the Marist site as an area in need of redevelopment back in May 12, 2021. In due course, that designation was supported by a recommendation from the planning board, and everything was pretty much done by the book. Our client did not enter the picture until several months later, after the redevelopment process had been set in motion. Considering the important opportunity to make a meaningful contribution to the image of Bayonne, our client eventually entered into a contract with the city to relieve it of its obligations to the Marist brothers and purchase the site in good faith reliance on the fact that it was already designated for redevelopment. All our client is trying to do now is protect its reasonable investment-backed expectations when it purchased the Marist site in the first place. If we play this out, and if the ordinance is not adopted this evening, that means our client has invested millions of dollars to acquire, environmentally remediate, and demolish improvements on a site that now cannot be developed or redeveloped in the manner they reasonably expected. They're incurring costs on a daily basis to mitigate environmental conditions, make the property safe by demolishing derelict buildings that are on the site. They'll have to continue to pay real estate taxes, maintain insurance, and otherwise keep investing money in order to keep the property safe and prevent it becoming a dumping ground or an attractive nuisance. And on top of that, by virtue of sort of the sidestep with the ordinance, our client's reputation has somewhat been harmed. They can no longer meet the expectations of their business partners to whom they made commitments upon buying the property before this ordinance was put on hold. So our client comes into this city and comes into this project this evening with clean hands. They were presented with an opportunity by the city of Bayonne, and it's a really unique opportunity to redevelop a site that has been referred to as the city's gateway. And all of their investment and planning to date and furtherance of that objective has been based on the reasonable expectation that the property would be developed in a manner contemplated under the redevelopment plan, which is the subject of the ordinance on the agenda this evening. To be stopped now, at the very last step in the process, at best is fundamentally unfair to them. At worst, it'll cause our client to lose the value of their investment. Now, to be sure, there'll be just compensation technically through a condemnation process to be paid for the value of the land that may be acquired by the Turnpike Authority. But the money that they've been putting into the ground, the investments they've made to date, the investment-backed expectation they had derived through their anticipated redevelopment, that could be lost. So our clients are here. They're long-standing Bayonne residents and businessmen. They have an established track record of doing what is best for the city, and even after the entry of the Turnpike Authority into this discussion last month, they still want to do what's best for the city. They want to continue cleaning and remediating the site. They want to preserve, by way of adoption of the ordinance this evening, at least some chance or some ability to possibly put a portion of that site back to productive use to the extent it's not used in connection with the Turnpike's project. I think until last month, most would say that the Marist site was never meant to be more than just a connector road or detention basin for a Turnpike extension. But without the adoption of the redevelopment ordinance, plan ordinance this evening, our clients really left with nothing to show for their efforts. other than to be the ones left holding the bag. So we ask that ordinance 03 on the agenda this evening be adopted, and once again, I thank you for the opportunity to speak in favor of this redevelopment plan.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Morris?
Good evening. Mike Morris, 123 Avenue C, Bayonne. I have a question regarding this particular project. Is this area going to be used for entrances or exits or for the turnpike itself, or is it just going to stay as an area unused to widen the roadways above?
Mike, I cannot speak to that. I thought last month's meeting, we were told that the city was not aware of it, but I did find out since then that the city has had several meetings over the last year. The council was not privy to that. I know that I have found out there are maps that were made about what's going to happen. There are maps that were drawn up by the turnpike, but again, this council is not aware of them, so we don't have the information I did request a meeting with the turnpike. It's not scheduled. They did say they would meet with me, but I have not received. I don't know, have any of my council colleagues received any information? So we can't answer that. We don't have that information. It just has not been provided to us.
Okay, well, if that be the case, if it is the actual case, I personally would not vote in favor of the turnpike to give them that property just to widen the roadway and then have an area underneath that is probably going to be not cared for in the proper way. It's going to have trash under it. I would rather see that land utilized for proposed high-rise residential, which seems logical for that particular area because it's not intruding upon anybody's property or aerial views, or even residential, high-rise residential and commercial use.
To be clear, Mike, I think what I understand from the turnpike, it's not really an option. They will take that land through eminent domain. And by now, the way the land stands, even without this redevelopment plan, I believe a 13-story residential building is allowable without any action by anybody. I think that
Yes, it
is
is.
the 13-story
I
residential.
believe it's 12.
12-story residential?
It's 12.
12 or 13 is by ordinance allowed there. That is allowed without any action on our part. They're free to do that tomorrow if they would like. But as far as what, our understanding is the turnpike is going to take that whether we agree or not.
Well, in all fairness, the turnpike is going to take more than that. They're going to take all those connected row houses too, because it's going to be part of their project.
Honestly,
They're not going to leave that there and spend millions of dollars. They're going to take that land too, by eminent domain, as you said. And so hopefully that won't happen, but I don't want to see any entrance or exit coming from the turnpike in that particular area, leading to more congestion on the roadway. It's not fair to the residents, so hopefully, we'll go with the Bayonne developers who invested tons of money in our town, not just to build their particular projects, but they also used their own personal monies to add to the projects. They didn't have to do that. There's the project on 30th Street and Avenue C. The awning outside the building is the iron from the Bayonne Bridge. They reclaimed it and put it to good use, and it actually looks beautiful. They put tons of their own personal money into the projects down on East 21st Street with the new CubeSmart building.
Mike, I don't think you'll get an argument from any council person sitting up here, including myself, that they're
Well, I'm not
community
disagreeing with.
partners, and we're always happy with everything they did, and we're
Well, I'll
happy
tell you
for their
this.
investment. We are.
I'd give them one hell of a fight before I would allow them to take that land, especially when they invested so much money in Bayonne.
I'm sure they
So-
will.
Well, I hope they will.
I'm sure they will.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Are there any hands online? Who's with us tonight? Do we know? What's the name? Madeline, who's with us tonight
I
on
don't-
Tetherview?
I don't know. It could be Jonathan.
Jonathan, is it Jonathan tonight on Tetherview?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Jonathan. Are there any hands raised?
Yes, ma'am. Peter Franco. That's one right.
You can unmute him.
Okay.
Good evening, City Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Peter Franco, 109 West 53rd Street. I just wanted to make the council aware that the agenda, it's not posted on the city calendar or the city website. Obviously we know this is important for not only residents to follow along during the meeting, but to be able to conduct their own research and provide informed input to participate in these meetings. The caucus agenda is there. And so those that are interested in watching from home or tuning in virtually, ultimately, they can look at the caucus agenda, but it's not always the exact same items that end up on the council agenda or in that order. So I just kind of wanted to know who is responsible, what department or official is responsible for these agendas to be posted on the website.
I am Peter, and I did post it.
I'm looking at it right now in real time, and there's nothing there. There's a notice, but there is no agenda link. The caucus is there, but not for the actual city council meeting.
Well, I can just tell you, we'll look into that, Peter, but I will say that really there's only one change, and there's nothing new on the agenda. It's just that the last resolution, R26, had to be changed to be an ordinance, so it is moved up, or the other way around. So one went from an ordinance to a resolution. Is that it, Madeline?
Yes.
So that's the only change. The items are exactly the same, except for one ordinance is now a resolution. So you
Thank
would...
you so much.
You would not be
Thank
far
you
off.
for that.
You would not be far off if you looked at that. And we'll point it out when it comes up. Madeline, please.
Yeah, I'm looking to see, go ahead. I'm not going to argue with him.
Okay. No, Jay can.
No, I'm not looking to argue. I just want to make sure, and the residents that are tuning in virtually, they can go to the caucus agenda and at least, somewhat follow along that way. So, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. No offense, Madeline.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so for everyone else at home, if you're following along, you can look at the caucus agenda from last week. That is a valid agenda for tonight, with one exception, which we will point out when we get to it. Is there anything else, Peter? Are you speaking on this? Or no? He's gone.
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
No, is anybody else?
No protest?
I would like to just say
Oh,
something on it.
Sorry.
I just have a question for legal counsel. As you're aware for this, and there is an ongoing investigation from the state into the city's handling of this matter. I know that a number of city officials have been contacted by a state office and have been asked questions and told of an investigation going on. So I'm not sure if it's pertinent that if there's an ongoing investigation on the city side, nothing to do with the owner, the developer, should we be voting on this?
I'm not aware that there's an investigation. I don't know who was contacted. The law department was not contacted. Didn't receive anything in writing about it.
Well, we all received a copy of a document that was filed with them.
That's
of
not
us.
the equivalent of an investigation. That's an anonymous individual who wrote a 4 or 5 page letter and addressed it to the Attorney General's Office of the United States and to the the state controller, and one other entity. I'm not aware that anything's taken place on that, other than, and I get these types of documents filed with us all the time by anonymous individuals or people who are not, they don't deem themselves subject to the laws of the state of New Jersey, filing complaints against individuals that represent the municipality. So I'm not aware of any investigation, a state
So
investigation.
there isn't one in your, just...
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
So no one, okay. So I was told by people that were contacted, so, and we all received this, so I know how we don't like to act on things that have an ongoing investigation. So the legal opinion is that there is no investigation?
I don't know if there's an investigation. An anonymous individual
there's- Okay.
wrote a letter to 4 entities
Okay.
alleging things
it.
about
Okay.
the transaction. That's all I know.
Okay. I was just asking because we received it and I, okay.
Yay, so it's an allegation, that's all it is, right?
I have the same documentation that all the council people have. In fact, I think I was the one that provided it to each of the council people and to the administration. We received, it was actually addressed from 630 Avenue C by an individual named Frank Struthers, who, and
No.
that name doesn't exist here in Bayonne, but it's the name, ironically, of the son of an individual who was killed in the Manson murders back in the 60s. And I just happened to watch a thing on the Mansons about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when that came in, and Frank Struther happens to be the name that's on that envelope that has a return address of 630 Avenue C.
Okay.
So about this is a redevelopment plan that would give the developer options on things to build on the property. The last thing I want to see as councilman for the uptown area is have a piece of land sitting fallow with nothing happening. So if you put this off, the turnpike drags their feet, we get nothing done. So that's the last thing I want to see. So this would give them some options if the turnpike doesn't come through. And I've seen millions of deals fall through, millions of dollars worth of deals fall through. I'll give you an example. The Waytex company was going to come in. They were going to build all kinds of high-rises and make Bayonne a destination center. It never happened. I remember we were going to build all kinds of upscale shopping on 440. I sat through presentations at the planning board. I sat through presentations as a councilman. Never happened. So at least I'd like to give this piece of land an opportunity to get something done. If the turnpike comes in and does eminent domain, there's nothing anybody can do about it anyway. They're gonna get it done, and they're gonna do it through the courts. Maybe the Alessis can even do, or this developer can even do a piece for the turnpike and a piece for whatever they want to do with the property. I've been to the property, I'm gonna say, probably 6 or 7 times in the last month. And now that they're starting to do more work, I think the term was attractive nuisance is coming up. So I'm getting some calls from people from the apartment building next door, and the last thing I want to see is for that to look fallow. So like I said, of all these things, I think we got to go with this ordinance. We have to do the redevelopment plan, give them the option, and if the turnpike comes in, so be it. And if the turnpike does come in, Mike Morris, I'm going to scrutinize this really, really well, because that's our gateway. You don't want to have the section right in your gateway look like a bunch of dirt flying around, a bunch of litter and everything else like you mentioned. So if they decide to build a bridge there, I'll be the first one out there watching what they're doing and making sure that plan is something good for Bayonne.
Any other council people? I have, okay. My real concern is, like you said, the people that are complaining, and I don't know that there was any real public input into the plan, but, okay. Well, that Madeline's doing that.
Okay, no protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. I'll take a motion.
So move.
Second.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution of final passage, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais?
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
My real concern is I don't think there was enough public input, that we've been a big topic of conversation of late into this, so I'm going to vote no.
04
I think,
is,
Mr. Wuchaskala's not out here yet.
It's right there.
She came. Oh, he's there. You snuck in. You snuck in.
I snuck in. Yeah, good evening, everyone. A pleasure to be here tonight. John Wuchaskala, Special
What is he
Redevelopment
talking
Council. Have we called this yet, or?
No, we
No,
haven't
no,
done anything,
no.
so I don't know what you're speaking. Yeah.
It
sorry.
is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, adopting the redevelopment plan titled Gamal Group East Redevelopment Plan for the property identified as Block 361, Lot 12, and Block 362, Lot 3, as shown on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held December 15, 2021, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at the meeting was scheduled for a public hearing at the meeting of January 19, and was postponed to this meeting of February 16th, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And Councilman La Palusa moved the ordinance be given a second reading. Mr. Carroll, will you second?
Second.
And on second reading, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, adopting the redevelopment plan titled Gamal Group East Redevelopment Plan for the property identified as Block 361, Lot 12, and Block 362, Lot 3, as shown on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne.
So good evening.
We're in the middle of, no.
The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Does anyone, wait, she opened the public hearing already. But she already opened the public hearing.
If I may just make a quick statement on this, just for the council's purposes, this ordinance actually should be tabled. The ordinance was actually introduced in December, and just for the council's edification on this, this was introduced and it was referred to the planning board for a master plan consistency review. That master plan consistency review was supposed to be conducted by the planning board at its January meeting, which was canceled due to COVID. It did not make the February agenda due to the fact that there was a PowerPoint presentation that hadn't been posted. So the planning board is actually considering this to make their recommendations to the council to review the redevelopment plan at its March meeting. So it should be tabled and carried so that the board will have the benefit of that master plan consistency review and any recommendations the planning board has at its March date.
Okay, Madeline, but we will keep the public hearing open till that time,
Okay.
okay? We want,
Do you want to take any more comments, or you want to just, are there any questions?
no, I think we will postpone, can we postpone the public hearing too until, in case there's changes made, I would like people to
Well, you
be
can-
understanding what they're speaking on.
Okay, like Mr.
So then we have a motion made, so it would be a motion to amend the motion to have the second reading, and instead, the intervening motion is a motion to table this to the March meeting.
And who would like the second?
Second.
And on the motion to table to the March 16th meeting, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
05 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, State of New Jersey, approving and authorizing the execution of a reimbursement agreement by and between the City of Bayonne and 6 Commerce Street Urban Renewal LLC, which was introduced and passed the first reading at a meeting held January 19th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of February 16th, and is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by Mr. La Palusa. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, State of New Jersey, approving and authorizing the execution of a reimbursement agreement by and between the City of Bayonne and 6 Commerce Street Urban Renewal LLC. The council is now ready.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Council President, if I may, on this one.
What do you,
Well, Just if I may, with respect to this particular ordinance, and just by way of summary for the council's purposes, this is proposing a reimbursement agreement. The developer is proposing improvements in that area, which include extension of water and sewer that will potentially benefit other potential developers in the area. We have spoken with the developer on this, and they have also asked that this be tabled as they want to discuss a few items that relate to the proposed reimbursement agreement that is part and parcel to this ordinance, and they have asked that it be tabled to the March meeting.
And I guess the next one's going to be tabled also, because they go together.
Same, yes.
Okay, Madeline, you got that? So you don't have to,
So a motion to postpone to the
well,
March
who
16th?
made the motion? He can't make the motion.
He can't, I know.
Yeah.
I know, I need somebody.
Okay, I will make the motion to postpone till next
Second.
meeting.
16. And a second?
Second.
And on a motion to postpone to the March 16th meeting, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
Do you want to give this one the second reading, or do you want to just move to postpone?
Postpone it. We'll save you. Motion to postpone. I'll move.
And on motion to postpone, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye, no. I mean, aye to you, Madeline. I was saying no to Jay. I say no to Jay. Sorry.
Okay. 07 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, State of New Jersey, approving the financial agreement by and between the City of Bayonne and 22nd Street Partners Urban Renewal LLC for the property located at 25 East 22nd Street, which property is identified as Block 206, Lot 1.01, as shown on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne. It was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held January 16th, was published in the Jersey Journal, and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of February 16th, and is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing.
Madeline, I'm going to table that one, too.
I'll second it.
And on the motion to table, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
08 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, State of New Jersey, approving the financial agreement by and between the City of Bayonne and Avenue E Development AMS Urban Renewal LLC for the property located at 132 and 140 Avenue E, which property is identified as Block 458, Lot 1.01, and Block 467, Lot 23, as shown on the official tax map of the city, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held January 16th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of February 16th. It is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing.
Can you hold up, Madeline, for 1 second? Just checking for a request. We have communication on this. Mr. Coffey's just clarifying something.
Look for the letter, we have the attorney here. So, Mr. Maselli?
Is this to postpone or to withdraw? Okay, that's it. That was the question.
Okay, it's for 8 and 10.
May I have a motion to
No.
postpone?
We're not on the line yet, we're on 08.
Mr. Maselli, I'm just going to confirm, you're looking to have 8, 10, 8 and 10 tabled, along with,
No, you could just answer it, no, I mean,
8 and 10 tabled, carrying to March.
May I have a motion to postpone to 3/16?
Move.
Second.
On the motion to postpone to March 16th, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
aye.
And on 09, we received a letter today at 3 o'clock, asking that that matter be carried to the March meeting.
I thought that has to be withdrawn. Okay. Okay.
As you may be aware, this firm represents applicant SKE 218-220 Broadway, owner Urban Renewal LLC, in connection with the financial agreement ordinance for Block 319, Lot 26. The ordinance is currently scheduled for public hearing on February 16, 2022. We hereby request that the public hearing of this ordinance be adjourned to the next regularly scheduled council meeting of March 16, 2022. Very truly yours, Maria Vallejo.
Like to move it to postpone.
Move it.
Second.
And on the motion to postpone, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
010, I also will need a motion to table to the meeting of March 16th.
Move.
Second.
On the motion to postpone, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
011 is an ordinance authorizing a 5-year tax exemption under NJSA 40A:21-16 and the Bayonne zoning ordinance 10-1.11 to 172 Avenue F LLC for the property located at 172 Avenue F, which is identified as Block 445, Lot 6, as shown on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held January 19th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of February 16th, and is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by Councilmember La Palusa, giving the ordinance second reading. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
Second reading is by title, and, let's do the vote on the second reading. On motion for a second reading, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance authorizing a 5-year tax exemption under NJSA 40A:21-16 and the Bayonne zoning ordinance 10-1.11 to the property located, to property 172 Avenue F LLC for the property located at 172 Avenue F, which is identified as Block 45, Lot 6, as shown on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. Any questions on 011? Are there any hands raised online? Then no. Okay, no protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Move it.
Second.
And a motion to close, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution for final passage, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
012 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7 Traffic, which was introduced and passed the first reading at a meeting held January 19th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of February 16th, and is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by Councilmember La Palusa, giving the ordinance second reading. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. Any questions on 012? Are there any hands raised for 012?
No hands raised.
Okay. With that, I'll take no protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with mail.
Move it.
Second.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution for final passage, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
Okay, now we come to our public portion. Cheryl Riscard.
She's outside.
Okay.
Do you guys have to leave? You want to talk first? Okay. Oh,
Yes,
Cheryl.
yes.
Good evening, Council. Cheryl Riscott, 19 West 19th Street, Bayonne, of course. I think this is the third time I'm here. This question is for Jay Coffey, Mayor Davis. Has nothing to do with you, Council, except for you, Juan. I want to know, again, why I was forced into the street to die, period. Mental and physical abuse in Bayonne, and the police officers walk away. Why? And why and who gave Michael Boschwick the money to make a movie and disgrace me? Why and who? Is it the governor? Who? I know there's a lot of money to be turned over. I know there's a lot of money involved in this. I want to know who. I want to know who. That one day I'm going to drop in the street. Who, in God's name, gave Michael Boschwick the right to do what he's doing and to rule people? I can't even hold my granddaughter. I cannot go near her. Christmas Day, the baby started screaming, crying when I was in my daughter's apartment and had red rings around her eyes. Why? Why do I have to throw my clothes away every day? Why? I'm not blaming you, Council. I'm not blaming you, Mr. Coffey. Somebody knows. Somebody knows. And I want that someone to come face to face with me. And I better not run into Michael Boschwick. I'm ready to go to Scudder's house. How dare they? Again, I shouldn't be up here speaking like this. I never looked like this. I have a friend in this audience right now, and she knows it. Never, ever in my life saw, I don't even believe this is going on right now. What a disgrace to this town to Mayor Davis, I don't care, now I do care who's running this show, but you didn't have to go along with it, because they cannot do to everyone in the town what they're doing to me. And have kids and teenagers running around trying to torment me. Or, I should say, tormenting me, having a good time. Thank God I'm who I am and don't want to go to jail, and never was in jail. Their mothers should thank God, because they get the back of my hand like there was no tomorrow. Running around McDonald's, where are their parents?
Okay, Cheryl.
That's all I have to say, but I want an answer. I want the governor, someone to come face to face with me. I don't care who you are, what you do, what you did, you don't get forced in the street, especially a 62-year-old senior citizen woman to die. It's a disgrace. Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Stacy Pasella.
Stacy Pasella, 25 West 40th Street. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Seems like we have a meeting of the Super Bowl here. So the oldies are back, better than ever. At least I am, Jay. So I have a question. There's a few things on my agenda tonight that you will all listen to. And I want an answer. How about that?
Something about it. I'm not coming at you.
Well, you-
But that's a punch in the face.
But it-
I'm not coming at you.
But it-
I have something about it. I'm not coming at you.
Well, you-
But that's a punch in the face.
But it-
I'm not coming at you.
But it-
Can you hear that?
I have something about it. I'm not
You
coming
know who
at
that
you.
is?
Well, you-
But that's a punch in the face.
Yes, I do.
You do. That's your assistant city attorney.
Correct.
Correct. So I would like to know why this employee is still employed by the city of Bayonne for threatening another employee that she will punch him in the face. It's on tape.
She did not.
Yes, she did.
No.
Did you just hear it?
Play it again.
How many times? I'll play it. I have a lot to play.
Coming at you.
Well, you-
But that's a punch in the face.
But it-
I'm not coming at you.
But it-
Her quote is, "If I was coming at you, I would punch you in the face."
No, she says, "I'm not
She didn't say, "I'm
coming at
going
you."
to punch you in the face." She said, he accused her of her coming at him, and she said, "No, if I was coming at you, I
I'd
would
punch you in the face.
Correct.
Correct. A city attorney said that to an employee. Am I correct?
Who was accusing her
No,
of
let's not
coming-
go there. This is what she said, as in another case that is already in court, and I'm not allowed to speak about that. But how do you allow this attorney, Donna Russo, to tell another employee, "I'll punch you in the face"?
She didn't say that.
She did say
"If I was coming at you," and I
Excuse me.
quote...
She said it.
No, if you're going to quote her, you have to
I
quote her
did quote
correctly.
her. "I will punch you in your face."
The preface to that was, "If
Okay.
I was coming at
So
you."
how is vulgar language allowed to be coming from this administration? The employee handbook specifically states one instance of harassment is harassment. She is one of the harassment officers, for Christ's sake, and she's doing the harassing.
The quote again,
Yet,
"If I was coming at you, I would..."
giving demands this week that other people should not speak harshly to another as it may hurt their feelings and they will feel bad. Look at this nasty lady, who I know personally and has spoken nasty to me. For anyone who stands up for themselves, she's going to come after them, just like that man did. I would know. And if you think that's bad, I'll let you listen to this.
I have something about it. But that's a punch in...
You stood there and didn't talk there for like 5 minutes. So I'm doing other stuff after. And you just stood there. You see her staring at me. I said, I saw her staring at me when she didn't have the mask on. And she said, okay, well, I have the mask on. When she put the mask on, she said, yeah, for air comes. Okay. I'm here 30 years. I'm not going to count out this. jerk. So,
This is the recording from a while ago?
This is you speaking.
it's going to be an interesting one.
So,
Where I say, I'm not going to kowtow to this woman, and,
no, you're not going to kowtow to this jerk. That's exactly what you
no, I
said.
didn't say jerk, I
Oh,
said
do you want
woman.
to play it?
Woman.
How about don't interrupt and listen to it, and you will see how you people speak to other people, but when people stand up for themselves, when you don't know the real reason, you fire them, okay? So listen to your recording, okay?
I've heard my
'Cause you-
recording.
Yes, and you said, "I am not going to kowtow to this jerk."
Who did I say, did I say that to that person? Because
I don't know who you
you're claiming
said
that I said that I harassed a person. I didn't say that to that person.
You're speaking to another one.
I'm speaking to another individual.
Most people are going the same way right now, except for one person.
Oh, wait, please listen.
Those four of us.
You don't interrupt, okay? I get my time, and you're interrupting on it, so how about you just listen, please?
Okay. I've been here 30 years. I'm not going to count out this jerk.
Sure.
So, it's going to be an interesting ride with this. I'm not, I've talked to my wife about this. I'm going out with my sword with this lady, not on my shield. She's like, what do you mean? We have all the City Hall going the same way right now, except for one person. There's four. There's her, Sharon, and the Smiths. The Smiths, Ed and Ann Smith. They said it wasn't working like that. So, you know, she said, Susan, what do you, I said, I love working with you.
Excuse me? So, the rules for thee, but not for me. Is that how that it is today with the higher-ups in this place, since I've been gone? Please, my saying that would be, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You should be fired, both of you. You should both be fired. I've already written to the state, and the AG knows about it. Okay? Who do you think you two are that can speak to everybody else that way? But when a person, which I can't talk about because it's my case, right? But you do agree that you have fired people for saying things like that?
No, I don't.
You don't? I can't wait. I can't speak on that case right now, and I have already sent a complaint to the state. And they will be coming up and investigating as they have stated they will. They have all the information from day one with you people, and I'm told that they were already around yesterday. I'd rather resign than be fired. Middle-aged people, it's hard to find a job when you're disbarred or found guilty by other state entities. Funny, right, Jay? You're smiling. So as long as you screw anyone to get what you want, you can give a rat's ass who they once were to you. All you people, you use people, that's why you have all these single applicants running for council. As I am one of them, Gary. And I know for a fact that, Gary, it's time to take a look at what you will lose if you keep thinking that you are one of them. It's a short boot to the garbage can. Look what they did to Sal. You think maybe you will have a chance at being the council president? Because Sharon is running for mayor? Juan, you keep riding that short coattail. That's going to be cut short soon enough. Because short men with big egos have a hard fall, my friend. Well, you aren't my friend. So again, I ask, why are these two people still employed by this town? You're the director of the law department. Why won't you resign? And why did your assistant attorney never be brought up on charges of saying she wanted to punch somebody in the face?
I said before, she didn't say she was going to punch someone in the face. She said if I was
ask
coming at
everybody in
you,
this
if I was
council, do you want me to go one by one to see what they said and what they hear? What they heard on this recording that has been all over online. So the rest of the town really doesn't come out, or they're only on TV. You know, so it's kind of hard for them to come out. But anyway, there's another matter that I have. I have been on doing OPA requests for at least 7 years on a monthly basis, or when I see something that needs addressing. Let's get one thing straight here. Christina Legata, whom you have blamed on your February 14th letter for sending me the nasty letter, is not the one to blame. That woman is a very good worker, and she is only a clerk who is given the documents that is sent to her from the individual departments, and then when the departments return it back to the Lord, she scans it and sends it to the requester. How dare you turn around and blame Christina for something that you, Donna, and Jessica are the ones who screwed yourselves? I've made plenty of complaints to the GRC, and one we went all the way to the OAL. And I know I won that case because that judge was only supposed to be there to fine you. But you guys had to cancel it and bring 4 of you people up against me. Change that story around because I don't trust judges. So, the city of Bayonne had to bring 4 little old attorneys to battle me by my lonesome. So getting to the other matter at hand, I Oprah requested documents per J. Coffey has a list of certain people who's put on an Oprah request that he and Donna need to go over them first. It's only a handful of people who know exactly what bull goes on in this city, but try to make things right for the citizens. So on January 21st, and again on February 4th, the fact that you and your law department continues to play games with my request, your own little attorney, Jessica, who wrote the letter back to me addressing exactly what I was requesting. So I'd like to know what is so specific that she can't get an Oprah request together. For you, Jay, to threaten me that I would be held liable if any of my Oprah was given to a third party, as I was demanded to destroy the information that was legal for me to have. But in your eyes, it's not legal. This is harassment for you and your cohorts, like you like to do to people. The camp sheet is a public record, and every word on there is a public access. Now, this was not a public access to anyone's PNDAs or FNDAs. I didn't request any of that. That's personnel documents. I would know. I worked here for 16 years until you screwed me over. Okay? I filed a complaint with the departments. So they might have to visit you down in Oceanport because you, Mr. Corfey, and Russo, she's not here as usual. As of tonight, you should be resigning. Yeah. I am requesting you both stand down from your positions and dismiss yourself as employees of this city for harassment, beratement, cause of anxiety to the requester and a resident of this town, in which you are not. Who do you think you are? You picked up the worst person to go after for this, and I have already filed a complaint with the AG's office. The GRC is worse. I'm not going to even bother with them, because they only kowtow to you. There is no personal information on a camp sheet. None, Jay. What was redacted was only a word. Just as if it was the word transfer, demoted, new hire, promotion, termination. The word was discipline action. There was nothing else on that piece of paper that stated anything about that employee. But I never asked for that person's disciplinary actions. I stated if there were any hearings. As a resident of this town, I have every right to ask for specific requests. I did, and I did not get one of that at all. So you don't know the rules of Oprah, and I think you people should all go back and do a class. You got to do a refresher class, because this isn't the first time I've had a problem with this. It's just a game to you. It's what you think you can do. Upon reading the benefits sheet in which all necessary information was redacted, as I know that is correct, I came across a termination of benefits. It is stated her benefits were terminated on January 31st, 2022. Yet, her payroll records and information I was told via Jessica through her email, she no longer received a paycheck as of 8/8/20. As she refused to come out of her office and speak to a resident who was taking questions regarding this Oprah, the residents pay all your salaries. And this is how we are treated when we ask for information that you people want to hide? So I asked her through her email in her office, and she refused to come out of the office. I said, so why would an employee who was terminated on 8/8/2020 and no longer received a paycheck according to the payroll register, still received benefits for 2 years? Can you answer me that?
I'm not going to answer it here, no.
Why not? We're the residents of this town. We pay your salary, we paid her benefits. Why did I waste my pennies on her benefits for 2 years, Jay? When she did not work here.
There may be extenuating circumstances.
No, you don't. When you're fired, you're fired. You don't get no benefits. You did it to me. And I have your little Donna Russo's little note stating she will go after me so I don't get unemployment. I have it all. I can't wait for court. I'm just so excited. I really am. It's going to show what disgusting people you really are. So I'm telling you, why was she getting benefits? I want an answer. I have every right to have an answer. I Oprah requested it twice. So now I'm here on the 16th of February without an answer.
And this isn't a question and answer period.
Listen,
for one.
you're
It's not.
hemming and hawing over a word. You hemmed and hawed over a word, discipline. Why did she get this? Because you handed it to me. You gave it to me, and then you're sending me a threatening letter?
Letter is standard letter.
No, it's not standard. You threatened me in that letter. Why do you think I'm here
Modeled
tonight?
on what the GRC's instructions are when something is
Wrong.
closed.
No. There was nothing illegal about it. In your mind, there was. So you just don't go around threatening people, and you think that you can do that. In your sick mind, you think you're going to use it for something else, but that's not going to happen. And I think it's a lot easier if you two resign before you get the silver bracelets on your wrist, because they're coming, and I can't wait, because I think they'll be knocking on your door down in Oceanport, because you won't be here. And if you don't resign, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You don't think so? Oceanport, no? You work here full-time. We pay your salary, and you're down there, Bayonne J, doing nothing. You're working on your own computer here for Oceanport. Right? Am I correct? Because I open all your computer information and Donna's and everybody else's. Can't find anything because you're using your own computer. Are you not? How are you getting work done in Oceanport when you're not there?
I do work in Oceanport for Bayonne. I do work in Florida for Bayonne. I do work in my car for Bayonne. I do work everywhere for Bayonne.
Wow, it's dangerous if you're doing work in your car. Don't do that. Kill somebody. So you're giving away benefits for 2 years, and that's not the only person, because Donna Russo has another big little baby from upstairs who was fired. She has benefits too. You've done it before, but yet you can't give an answer of why to the residents of this town who pay for it.
If in fact what you're saying is true, we will deal with it, and we can draw back that money.
Excuse me? You won't get the money back. That's a joke. He had one in jail and he was getting paid benefits. Come on. So you want to send me here, make me come up and have to explain myself to you why you threatened me. You threatened a resident.
I did not threaten you.
You did threaten me.
I sent you a
Do you want me to read the letter out loud?
I sent you a letter.
You sent me a letter.
That is based upon the GRC's recommendation with respect to disclosure.
GRC, personnel information expressly available to the public is, meaning I should get it that day that I request it, is the names, titles, positions, salary, payroll record, length of service, date of separation, and the reason therefor. Now, I got nothing but criticize because you gave me a piece of paper that said discipline form. Excuse me, discipline action, which means nothing on a camp sheet. Because that's not a personnel record that means anything. But you got caught when you gave it to me, giving her benefits for 2 years. You're not too smart. You think you're smart, but you're not. So how did you give that information out to the public? Why didn't you redact that? I caught it. You don't think anybody else will? Now I'm going to have a lot more Oprahs to do, so you're going to be busy. Sorry, Madeline, you will be busy.
My job.
But you don't do them anyway, because the only people that do mine, Franco's, Creshy's, I don't know if anybody else that is so specific of wondering what you people are up to in this town is besides us, that you have to have our information for Oprah requests, nobody else. And then you blame your clerk. You owe her an apology. Write her an apology and CC that letter to me. Because Christina Legata does her job well.
She's a
and you
fantastic
pay
employee,
her
a
like
wonderful
a dog.
worker, and the
You
law
pay
department
her
does-
like a dog.
And the law department does all Oprah requests.
Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. But only a specific few have to go through you. I was the vice president of the union here. Who do you think you're talking to?
I'm telling you that right now, all Oprahs go through the law department.
That's right, they do. But maybe 5 people you want handed over to you so you can see what they're asking for and what they're getting. Unfortunately, I got the information that was supposed to be given to me. But you cried and said that they were wrong. So you owe them an apology. Because Jessica was like shaking in her pants when I brought the cop in. Okay? You owe somebody information right there when they request it, as per Oprah and DRC, okay? You better go up and do a refresher course. And for you to threaten somebody that you're going to go out with a sword, I think you need to go to anger management. Maybe you should ask Donna where she sent her other client, who threatened the hell out of me and didn't go. So why don't you go to anger management? She should go with you, and I think you should present when you're done, I think you should present it to the council president that you went. Because I think after that, I think they should have to go to anger management. Would you agree?
You're asking me?
Yeah,
As you-
I know, yes.
As
You
you know,
can't
though-
say, I think we're going to do that. But I think you should, because who over him but Jimmy Davis?
But that's it.
What counseling he going to go to? Sexual harassment, what?
We're the legislative body. We cannot get involved in the administrative side. We don't get involved in the personnel matters. We can't. Would we like to? Yes.
Yeah, well,
maybe,
they
but-
can't discipline themselves. Well, they can't act accordingly, but they sure can go after somebody else. Because why? Somebody doesn't want to be their friend anymore? That's not my problem. When I ran for vice president, I ran for the people that work here, and you didn't like it. And you were actually told by JoJo to do what he says, all of you were, because you were all afraid of him. So now he's gone, you grew a little bit, right? Right, Gak? Can't wait for our little date. Be great. So I think that's enough, but I actually think I'm going to call the state, and you're going to have to go to anger management since you won't resign. I think you should resign, you and your friend Donna, okay? Resign, because you're going to get bracelets on you, and you're not going to like them. Not at all. Have a good night. It's been nice seeing you.
Thank you.
John Stoll.
John?
John, did you sign up?
He left? Okay, we'll see.
Melanie Flora? No? Okay. William? Okay.
Testing, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. My name is William Hellinger, 27 Kelly Parkway, Bayonne, of course. I just have a problem in my neighborhood. People have been parking, people would be parking in the reserved spots, like I had a problem a month ago, or a few weeks ago, and, sorry, and there have been people speeding up and down our street, and like one part, it was 1 a.m., I think, I heard a few people riding motorcycles. They went up the road, and they woke me up, and I was really scared, genuinely. And yeah. And then people have been blocking fire hydrants, too.
Thank you. I commend you for coming up. This is government at its best, and we like to see young youth, and especially as young as you. We welcome, there's no, like Councilman Carroll said earlier, there's no age limit on who could speak at public speaking, and we encourage you. This is what it's all about. We want to hear from our residents, so I commend you for getting up and talking about it. As you know, because we talked before the meeting that we're the legislative body, but we do have Police Chief Geisler in the back of the room, and they would be the ones that would address the concerns you have. So Chief Geisler could address the concerns, and you should make him aware that there is an issue on Kelly Parkway with speeding and illegal parking. So I will ask Chief Geisler to address your concerns.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, young man, for pointing that out to me. I will take some action. I'll have the district cars that work downtown pay particular attention to the illegal parking and the speeding on Kelly Parkway.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are there any hands raised to speak online?
There is one Sam Eustalco.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Sam DeFalco, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Don't Gas the Meadowlands Coalition. We're a coalition of organizations that was founded a couple years ago in opposition to a power plant proposed in North Bergen, and since then we've been involved in a number of campaigns to stop fossil fuel projects in Hudson County, and we were so appreciative of the Bayonne City Council in the fall of 2020 passing a resolution against the proposal by New Jersey Transit to build a power plant not far from Bayonne in Kearney. Now our coalition is concerned about a similar proposal proposed by the Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission. The commission has proposed to build a new power plant at their wastewater treatment facility in Newark's Ironbound community. This is yet another major source of air pollution that will negatively impact Newark and the surrounding region, right downwind is Jersey City and parts of your own community in Bayonne. And we're really concerned about this. This is a public agency that has received a taxpayer-funded grant to build this power plant. And we are not opposed to them building, resiliency so they can have their own backup sources of power, but we're calling on them to do it with renewable energy. And so I'm speaking tonight to ask if the Bayonne City Council will consider passing a resolution against this project, calling on Governor Murphy to direct PBSC to use this, big federal FEMA grant and invest it in renewable technology instead of a new power plant. That would be in line with his own environmental justice and clean energy goals for New Jersey. So earlier today, I did email over a model resolution to members of the council, and we really sincerely hope you'll consider this for your next council meeting in March. And again, we thank you so much for the leadership you've already shown for the environment, by passing that resolution a year and a half ago against the proposal by NG Transit. So I'll end there, but you should all have my email, and I'd be very happy to answer any questions, schedule a meeting or a presentation, anything that can help.
Thank you. I did receive your email today. We entered into an agreement here of no add-ons, otherwise I would have had it out for tonight. I did put on the one for Kearney, and I have every intention of bringing forth the one that you sent us, because I couldn't agree with you more. We are all about clean energy and renewable energy, And we are, again, just like we were with what was proposed in Kearney, we are only downwind a little bit. We're across the bay here. So, it will be on for consideration next month. But thank you, and I appreciate your stewardship in following up on these and holding people accountable.
Well, thank you so much for your leadership, and hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, Mr. Kelleher.
Good evening, Council President, Council people. My name is Patrick Keller. I'm the Hudson County Building Trades, representing the trades in Hudson County. I'd like to speak on 08010 Silk Loss, an 18-story building. I know you tabled it tonight, but that project should be done under a project labor agreement. We have a tremendous amount of Bayonne residents and apprentices that have come through the program in Bayonne. And they see a lot of this non-union projects going back and forth, and there's no Bayonne residents on there. With the project labor agreement, we make sure that Bayonne journeymen, journeywomen, and apprentices are on there. So, like I said, I know you tabled this project and stuff like that, but make it considered. There's a tremendous amount of residents that live in these wards, and they pay a lot of taxes in these towns, especially this town here, and they want an opportunity. When they go to work, they spend money in Bayonne, and they eat, they do it. The non-union guys that come from out of state, they don't do nothing for you. So I implore, make sure the follow-up, everybody knows who I am up here. Consequences, we support the people that support us, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hurley?
Council, how you doing? My name is Thomas Hurley. I'm the president of Local 253 and the council representative with the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters. I represent the carpenters in Hudson County and the four counties within my jurisdiction, as well as being an officer with Patrick Kelleher in the Hudson County Building Trades. And I just want to echo the remarks that Patrick made. We have a lot of Bayonne residents that are hungry and looking for work, and time again we see that people who want to develop in cities like Bayonne bring nothing to the community. They don't spend their money here, they don't raise their children here, they don't pay their taxes here. So I ask that the council please consider giving some kind of project labor agreement attached to this project, a union scale project, so that we can start to build back Bayonne the way we started years ago. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say I appreciate you gentlemen coming out tonight, men and women coming out tonight to talk about this. I've been a proponent of union labor. We've had many great developers and developments in this city, and we should follow suit with some of the other municipalities around Hudson County that are using PLAs in their projects. And one of the things that wasn't mentioned, but that I mention every time we have a major development in this city, is that your involvement guarantees safety, and it guarantees that the job is done well, not just for those that are going to end up living in it, but for those that are going to have to endure its construction.
I concur with Councilman Neil Carroll on that. And one of the things that I would like if Mr. Hurley can explain what a RAB is.
Mr. Hurley, or should we have? Okay, do you feel like you want to explain that, or do you want to see?
It's fine. Yeah, a RAB is a redevelopment agreement bond. What it does is it actually benefits a developer to come in and be able to pay up to as low as 10% of like a pilot program almost, so that it gives the developer more room to afford to pay for organized labor. Because with our people comes benefits, with our people we have pay stubs, we pay taxes, and with that comes a bigger price than those who don't. And I'm not accusing people who do work non-union of doing anything illegal. I'm just saying, in order to be competitive, we need a cushion so that we can really give an accurate number based on a budget. And with the city's help in considering a RAB agreement attached to a PLA, it would give the developer the concessions to build a project all union, and then in turn give Bayonne's residents an opportunity to work where they live.
Okay, so so a RAB would be, we already have a PLA in town.
Yes.
That says, so a RAB would be using city money.
Yes.
And if we did that, and the project was over $15 million.
Well, not city money, Council President, I didn't mean to interrupt you, I apologize, but it's government funds.
Well, government,
Yeah.
federal government money, not private money.
Right.
Then a RAB would kick in.
Yes.
I mean, our PLL will kick in anyway, as long as it's over $15 million, $5 million. So, and this building would, being as big as it is, the one you're talking about, would obviously be over that threshold of cost. So if they were to use public money, they would have to follow the PLA if they were to use public money.
Right.
Yes, so that's already in place.
Well, right now, no, it's not. Right
In
now.
Bayonne, not the RAB, but we do have a project labor.
Yes, you do.
We do have a project labor. That was one of the
we-
things we did when we first got, I think that's the day I met Mr. Keller the first time, when we first got elected in 2014, we put in a PLA. I'm all for it. I'm pro-union. I brought up the crane ordinance here, introduced it a number of weeks ago for the operators union, which, is about safety and ultimately union work. I voted last week on the planning board for our VOTEC. I'm excited about the VOTEC school that's going over at the high school.
Thank you, yes, thank you.
Because we're doing a partnership with the buildings trades to get residents in that program. And my neighbor, who you know, lives around the block from me. He's not here tonight, which I'm kind of surprised, but he's in your union.
Yep.
A few other people from my neighborhood are here tonight.
Everyone you see behind you is from Bayonne.
Yes, I recognize a lot of them.
Laborers, carpenters, plumbers, electricians,
So-
everybody that's here is.
So we are for that, and I agree with you that it's great to be able to work in the town instead of driving out of town when these projects are going on. So we support you 100% in that.
We appreciate it. We'd just like to remind the council, like Patrick said, that we support the people who support us, and we've not seen the PLA utilized yet. So I think that's our main objective, that we'd actually like to see what was passed, years ago actually be used based on a threshold that we think we've seen happen with all the pilots and tax abatements that have been given out over the years. We've just not seen any opportunity for our residents to work. So we appreciate the mayor and council for your support, and hopefully you consider attaching it to this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon, we work with non-union developers, and work with anybody, the building trades, but the PLA that is city-owned projects, this is a residential project, you have skin in the game, and you make sure that the project is being union, and what you just said about the VOTEC, we have programs through Project Impact, Commissioner O'Day and the county has these men and women, and we get, to our credit, we get more Bayonne kids into the program than ever, and they always ask us in school, why are we not on these Bayonne projects? So, council people, they say, and this, I get sometimes with height and everything else in the conversations there, but you know what? As people were saying, Bayonne, you talk about a destination, you're talking about what you're going to get a ferry system and things happening here, but like you said, when our people go to work, they spend money, and where they spend it, in Bayonne. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think I had somebody else, Madeline, who didn't sign up. You can come on up. You can come on, yes.
Sure, nice to,
Just state your name and
I'm
address.
sorry, I'm Dominic Napolitano, Local 3 Laborers, all right? I've been in the Laborers Hall, started off at 325 with Nikki Cedar as a laborer. Pat, I followed up with Tom. A long journey. I had a child, I've been 52 years in Jersey City, in Bayonne. We had a fruit business out here. I had one child. If it wasn't for the unions, I have one child. He went to Sacred Heart, St. Peter's Prep. If it wasn't for the unions, I couldn't support him. You know, it was tough growing up, but I was dedicated to local 325 laborers in the beginning. Growing up, I learned a lot. It was expensive, but when I started off, it was $12 an hour. I'm 52 now, I graduated Dickinson High School. I'm pretty sure I played Bayonne against them with the Bees, it was a challenge from Jersey City here. And if it wasn't for the union, like I said, wasn't for the unions to pay my bills, I wouldn't be able to survive, and my son would have never went to prep. It was $18,000 a year, okay? I worked 2 jobs as a laborer. Now I'm finally in Local 3 as a business agent for the last 3 years.
Congratulations.
And I'm proud of it. My
Yeah, you
dad's
should be.
proud of it. He's been here. I worked for Farino and Son and Exxon in Bayonne on Hook Road, and they shut down. Now it's a lube now. But listen to the stories and families I go through right now, and you know what? I made my final college student loan 3 years ago. I would have never took the agent business thing. And I had to work 2 jobs, and proud of it. Like I said, it was $12 an hour, and if it wasn't for the union, I was dedicated to them. I never transferred, I never left them. They support me, and I got 1 child. If I had 2, I don't know what I would have did if it wasn't for the unions.
Yeah.
How
Agreed.
expensive it is. And I'm pretty sure you guys know, with the suits, with everything, it's tough out there, man.
Absolutely.
It's a tough life. And when I got into office, Pat, Tom, listen to their stories, you know what I mean? It's rough. It really is. And it's like the jobs out there, we fight every day to make sure it's union, so our residents in Jersey City and in Bayonne, everywhere, we could survive. Rent, looking for an apartment, it's tough. You're looking at $3,000 a month for a studio. If you're not working in a union, and it still doesn't pay them bills. And, it's like I said, I'm sitting there, I'm listening to these stories. I grew up in it, I made it through, I'm 52. And I made my last payment, and my son, he's a chef, he's graduated St. Peter's College, went to St. Peter's Prep, Sacred Heart in Lyndhurst. It was a struggle for me. Listen, it was 16 hours a day on double shifts. And I did it, I made my final payment, now everything's for me now, and I'm proud of it. But for these new kids in high school and everything, they need to be in the union. It's a rate, everything has to be union, It's tough, I can't explain it anymore. Sometimes I'm like, it's gonna be hard for these kids.
Agreed.
It's gonna be very hard. And it's like to this day now, I stand by my son if he needs anything. I give him half my check now so he doesn't take that wrong path.
Yeah.
It's tough out in the streets, and it's like I don't know what to say anymore, to living life. It's expensive out there, and these kids, everything has to be union, and I get the help, especially from you guys, You guys are there. I hope, and we're there for the, work and stuff, but it's like I'm listening to them, and it's like I said, what I went through for the last 24 years, he's 24 years old now. He's a sheriff officer now, okay? He's in the sheriff's department. I'm proud of it. Graduated St. Peter's College, he went to St. Peter's Prep, cost me an arm and a leg, but if it wasn't for the unions, I could have never did it. I don't know. I would have never known what I would do. I'll cry right now, but that's my kid.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing
That's
that,
it.
and you're a good dad. You're a good dad. Thank you.
You guys earned that merit badge.
Great job.
Okay, we won't adjourn, Madeline, but we'll just take a pause. A lot of people are exiting. Okay, Madeline. No, we didn't adjourn. We're starting.
Okay. 013 has been replaced with a resolution at the end of the meeting. 014 is a bond ordinance providing for various 2022 capital improvements buying in the city of Bayonne, in the county of Hudson, state of New Jersey, appropriating $18,075,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $10,389,461 in bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof. And a resolution fixing Wednesday, March 16th at 7 p.m. and the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage. It's moved by the Council President. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
015 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, New Jersey, amending the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, which is entitled Municipal Council, Section 2-1.2, the powers of the council, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, March 16th, and at 7 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage. It's moved by the Council President. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
016 is an ordinance authorizing early voting for the City of Bayonne's regular municipal election of 2022, pursuant to NJSA 19:1-15A-1 et sec, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, March 16 at 7 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for public hearing and final passage. It's moved by Councilmember La Palusa. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
Madeline, is that going to be, I'm all for it. I think it's great. We want as many people voting as possible. Is it going to be at the library where it's centrally located?
We're working on that location, but I do believe it is going to be the library.
Okay,
This
thank
is
you.
on all the bus lines.
Okay.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
017 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, March 16th at 7 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage. It is adding one restrictive parking zone.
Move it.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
And 018 replaces R9 on the agenda, which should have been an ordinance, not a resolution, is an ordinance executing a lease agreement between the City of Bayonne and the Atlas Yacht Club of Bayonne, Inc., Bayonne, New Jersey, and fixing Wednesday, March 16th at 7 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage. Who'd like to move it?
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
Consent agendas for the communications is a resolution moved by the council as a whole, and it orders the following communications to be received and filed. It covers C1 through C4. Are there any questions on the communications? Okay. And on the communications, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
Officers' report is a resolution moved by the council as a whole, and it orders the following officers' reports to be received and filed, and any resolutions incorporated within to be adopted. It covers OR 1 through OR 8.
I did not see, is that the claims list?
The claims list?
Yeah. No, okay. Mm-hmm.
That generally comes from your office, from finance.
Yeah, I know, I didn't see it on there. Okay. What time, resolutions, what? That's what I'm looking. I didn't get it earlier. I'm just seeing. Yeah, I know. I just seen it. I'm just. Mm-hmm.
Came over about...
No, it came, but I'm not sure what time.
About 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I didn't. Okay. I didn't get to review it, so I'm not going to vote on that because I haven't seen it, so.
Would you like to remove it from the officers' reports, so you can abstain from it?
I don't want it to be a consent because I don't,
Okay,
I
then
want-
we'll take it out. And we'll vote on from OR2 to OR8. So on the officers' reports for OR2 through OR8, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
And we have OR1, which is from Donna L. Mauer, Chief Financial Officer, reporting on vendor payments and recommending payment of the same, and a resolution adopting the recommendations and ordering payment of the claims. Would like to move it.
So move.
And a second?
Second.
And on OR1, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
I'm going to abstain because I haven't seen it.
Consent resolution for, covers CR1 through CR30, and it orders the resolutions to be adopted. That's moved by the council as a whole. Any questions on the CR resolutions?
Are we looking online too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The CR 25 is for just the interchange, or is that including the bridge?
CR5 is just supporting the...
No, 25.
I mean, 25. It reads, I think we have it here, it's just saying that we need the bridge fixed for structural and, I think you all got it last week. Here it is. Oh, that's not, that's R25, sorry. I'm reading the wrong one.
So it is, it says, whereas the project would include the construction of a new Newark Bay Bridge, accommodating a widened turnpike main line from 2 lanes in each direction to 4 lanes and provide full shoulders. There's more here, but I think that's the crux of it. All right, that's the answer. Anyway.
Yes.
So thank you, Jay, for that. All right, I'm in favor.
Okay, on the consent resolutions, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye. All right.
R1 is moved by the council president approving the temporary emergency number 2 in the calendar year 2022 budget, and seconded by Councilmember Perez. And R1, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R2 is approving the appropriations reserve transfer number 1, and this has to be read in full, is resolved that the appropriations reserve transfers as set forth below pertaining to the calendar year 2021 appropriations be and are the same, are hereby authorized, and be it further resolved that the comptroller be and hereby authorized and directed to make the transfers in the accordance herewith. It is all from the current fund. It's Mayor's Office, salary and wages, $18,000. Mayor's Office, other expenses, $10,000. City Clerk, salary and wages, $18,000. Tax Collector, salary and wages, $8,000. Tax Assessor, salary and wages, $8,000. Law Department, salary and wages, $10,000. Planning and Zoning, salary and wages, $17,700. Police Department uniform, salary and wages, $105,000. 2, the city clerk's other expenses, $5,000. Finance, $5,000. Law Department, other expenses, $5,000. Police, other expenses, $11,500. Police, other expenses, $55,000. Fire Department, other expenses, $7,000. Building and grounds, other expenses, $25,000. Vehicle maintenance, other expenses, $30,000. Municipal prosecutor, $1,200. Would like to move.
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R3 is authorizing and consenting to the assignment and the assumption of the financial agreement between the City of Bayonne and Bayonne 19th Street Urban Renewal Associates LLC, dated January 11, 2016, from Bayonne 19th Street Urban Renewal LLC to 19 East 19 Urban Renewal LLC for the property identified as Block 221, Lot 1.01, as shown on the official tax map of the city. It is moved by Councilmember La Palusa. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
R4 is moved by Councilmember La Palusa, awarding the contract for cleanup of North Bergen, New Jersey, for the 2021 various roadway improvements for the bid amount of $1,854,136.26. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
R5 is moved by the council president, awarding the contract to Rachel Michelle's Oil Company, Clifton, New Jersey, through the state contract T-1845 to provide diesel fuel for city vehicles in the amount not to exceed $200,000.
Move it.
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
R6 is authorizing a contract with Rachel Michelle Oil Company through the state contract T0083 to provide gasoline for city vehicles in an amount not to exceed $600,000.
Move.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
R7 is moved by Councilmember La Palusa, authorizing the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, State of New Jersey, to participate in the Hudson County Improvement Authority Pooled Notes Financing Program. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
R8 is moved by Councilmember La Palusa, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an amendment to the agreement CY 21041 with Rudderman and Roth LLC for professional legal services as labor attorney to cover the cost of outstanding invoices for the month of December 2021, and authorizing the treasurer to issue payment in the amount of $5,676,000 to the contractor. Mr. La Palusa, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
R9 has been removed and replaced with an ordinance. R10 is authorizing the mayor and his and/or his designee to execute a consent agreement and final order in the matter of the City of Bayonne, NJDPDES permit number NJG 0151033, which is in connection with the alleged violation of the Consolidated Water Act relative to the operation of the city's municipal separate stormwater system for the reduction of $11,000 from $18,000, and authorizing the treasurer to issue payment to the treasurer of the United States of America in the amount of $11,000 pursuant to the same.
Move it.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R11 is moved by the council president, authorizing the mayor and the city to execute an agreements as are required and found to be acceptable by law with Fairview Insurance Agency Associates for professional risk management services for the period commencing January 1 through December 31st, 2022, at a risk management fee of 3%.
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution,
Aye.
thank you. Mr. Galais?
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R12 is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Bayonne, Coughlin, and Michelino for professional legal services related to the existing utilities agreements and management agreements for the city's water and sewer systems for a period commencing January 1 for an amount not to exceed $60,000.
So move.
Second.
And on the resolution, that's R12. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R13 authorizes the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement number CY20-098 with Arthur R. Theobald Jr. of Appleseasy, McDermott, Mastro, and Murphy for professional legal services as labor attorney in connection with the union labor agreements negotiations extending same for a period of 1 month commencing December 1st through, that looks wrong, through December 1st to December 31st, 2021, at no additional increase. Would like to move it.
Move it.
Second.
Don't go to sleep on me yet, guys. And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R14 is a resolution, amending resolution number 21-12-15058, authorizing an agreement with the North Star Health Services doing business as Hudson Health Employees Assistant for professional mental health services in connection with the city's employee assistant program for City of Bayonne municipal employees for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st to reflect the contractor as the Hudson Health Employees Assistant.
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R15 is amending resolution number 21-12-15060, authorizing an agreement with Donahue, Geronda, Doria, and Tompkins for professional accounting and auditing services for the calendar year 2021 and calendar year 2022 to correct the scrivener's error and to reflect the technical advice to be provided by the contractor should reflect during the calendar year ending December 31st, 2022.
Move it.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R16 is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a right-of-way agreement with Al Pachesnik for the purpose of installing and maintaining a wraparound awning protruding into 2 of the city's right-of-way and an enclosed encroachment on the city's Hobart Avenue Row right-of-way located at the building located at 107-109 Hobart Street.
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R17 is authorizing a right-of-way agreement with the Ferraro Family Partnership LP for the purpose of installing and maintaining two awnings encroaching approximately 2.5 feet into the city's right-of-way and at the two entranceways to the building located at 766-768 Broadway.
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R18 is imposing the minimum wage be increased from $13 per hour to $15 per hour to any and all municipal employees retroactive to January 1st, 2022, and authorizing and directing the Department of Finance and Administration to implement budgetary and payroll action and to utilize funding received part and partial of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 to the greatest extent legally permissible to fund the differential between the state minimum and the city's minimum.
Move it.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
I just want to correct something on this. I know there was a statement put out by the mayor's spokesperson saying that this minimum wage would only affect 3 employees. But in fact, I had a report run by our payroll, and it affects 44 employees and 5 additional employees if we include seasonal, which are covered under the law. So it would be a total of 49 employees that get affected by it, and I vote aye.
R19 is authorizing the planning board to conduct a preliminary investigation to determine whether Block 412, Lot 3, which has the street address of 69-73 Lafante Way, constitutes a non-condemnation area of need of redevelopment.
Move it. Oh, wait. Wait, what on round 19?
R19.
Actually, I want to just say something about this. I don't know that we haven't really done any community meetings. We were hearing a lot about having community input. So before we send something to the planning board, I would think we should get community input and actually have those community meetings. That's my statement on that.
Hold on one second. Hold on. Is there a motion to move the resolution?
Move it.
Second.
Okay. Now.
Good evening. My name is Michael Maselli. I represent the property owner. This is an industrial property. It is a dilapidated industrial property, and it will be an industrial property that generates new jobs in Bayonne. It's my understanding that that's sort of where we're at in development. This is the kind of use we want. It is, drive down there, take a look at it. We're just studying it as an area in need. We haven't brought a proposal, but when we do, we'll meet with the community. We don't have a final plan just yet, but we want to get the ball rolling. They have a really tight time frame on this turnaround. And like I said, it's a job-generating, non-residential development, I think, that everyone should support. That being said, I would just ask you to vote aye on this resolution so we could just get the ball rolling. We will meet with the community before anything is done, but we're not at that stage yet. Thank you.
Is this somehow different than the other preliminary investigations that we've approved in the past?
No,
I'm asking.
No, this is it's just a request to have the planning board look at this to determine whether it qualifies. There's no hard plan in front of the city at all. We haven't, I think we showed a box to the mayor's office, just a box on a plan, but it is going to be industrial. Again, I have no issues presenting that to the public. These are the kind of jobs that are going to replace the jobs that Bayonne lost all those years ago when Exxon and ICI closed. So it's going to bring those well-paying, blue-collar jobs back to Bayonne. So let's just get the ball rolling for these guys if we could. All right, thank you.
And it's still going to go through all the channels of the planning board
Yes,
and
it'll
back
be
to the council.
That's why I'm asking, why is there any?
Trying to clear it up.
This is only an area that needs study I'm so sorry.
Your voices.
The voice of God, the voice of God, right?
This is coming out of this guy. Okay, all of a sudden, I'm like, who's talking?
Sorry, I don't know, I seem to have a loud microphone over here. But yeah, this is only an area needs study. This is just, would be a preliminary before there would be consideration of whether it's appropriate to even prepare a redevelopment plan for the site. So this is really just to determine whether this particular property, Mr. Maselli said industrial property, meets the criteria under the local redevelopment and housing law.
All right, I'll move it.
No, you already did that.
Was it
You did that with the vote.
We need
It was
a
done.
second?
No, it was done.
No, but I don't need a second either. If you're ready, I'll take a vote. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais. Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
I would just like to say, there was the question asked, and my point is that having been out there talking to residents recently and reading it online and in the newspaper, people want to have input in the very beginning, and that's what I'm committed to. So before these go down the path where they're at the planning board and not everyone knows about them, I believe that we should have community, a lot of other towns are doing it, we should have community meetings before the process begins. So I vote no.
Okay. I totally agree, but for clarification, this is a change you want to make now.
Yes, it is after being out, talking
Right.
to the
Okay.
people and hearing the feedback, not unlike the announcement the city made yesterday.
But on the planning board, the people come and they express their feelings right there.
I'm voting, I'm not, that's okay. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm just justifying, I'm just clarifying why I'm voting no. That's it. It's,
And R20 is authorizing the transfer of the redevelopment agreement and redeveloper designation from Pearview Lofts Urban Renewal LLC to Parkview Realty Urban Renewal 3 LLC for Block 402, Lot 4.01, which is also known as 676-684 Avenue E.
move it.
And a second?
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R21 authorizes the planning board to conduct a preliminary investigation to determine whether Block 442, Lots 6, 7, 8, and 9, which has an address of 173-179 Avenue F, constitutes a non-condemnation area of need of redevelopment.
Now, this is one of those areas that should be checked and talk to the residents, because they were impacted a lot over there in that area, and it's still being impacted, so.
Every day. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, I know. I get the calls. I stopped them, I know.
Yeah, but that's why they have a planning board, so the people come there and
I'm
express.
not worried about a planning board one. I'm just saying, it's a thing that something should be checked at, and that's it. I'm not arguing with nobody.
That's why the planning board is there to check it all out.
Okay, all right, wait, excuse me, can we just have some order, Madeline? What are we, where are we
I
on
need a
the?
motion and a second.
Everyone can talk. You have a motion in a second?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I need
Sorry.
one. Who'd like to move it?
I'll move it.
And a second.
Second it, I don't care. Just saying, this is one of those areas that should be checked. That's all.
Is there any
Any questions on this
comments on
one?
this?
Questions, comments?
I totally agree with Sal. Rosemary Bond, 108 East 25th. That is Welch's Tavern. We are inundated over there between parking, and now I don't know what he's going to do with that property, and that's his business, that's his property. But I think we should have some kind of input. There's no parking over there, there's illegal parking everywhere. I don't know, that's a big, big part of land, that's a lot of land over there. We want to know what he wants to do. And Sal, thank you. Because I am one of the ones, excuse me, that bitches all the time. And he hears from me at least 2 and 3 times a week. I want to know what's going on over there. I think we should have some input in our neighborhood. I've lived there all my life. Thank you.
Certainly, may, Ms. Flores.
Thank you. I wasn't going to speak. Melanie Flora, 108 East 25th Street. What she's saying, what he's saying is absolutely true. I want to just pass the calendar back 4 years maybe. You're not going to have any problem. We'll put the mosque in. You're not going to have any problem. We'll put the 180 unit on the same street. You're not going to have any problem. We'll put the 20 unit one next to it. You're not going to have any problem. Well, guess what? 4 years later, there are times I can't even get out of my street. Okay? So I have to either call the police, which I don't do, or I have to check cars. And guess where they all are? And you can check with the police over there because they're called millions of times to go there on that corner of Avenue F and ticket cars that are in no parking, handicapped children area, everything else. I think they lied when they did the city planning, and we're going to see how, Mrs. Flora, you should go home, you should this, you should that. It's past your bedtime. I sat there through the insults, okay? But guess what? It came to pass 4 years later. All we do is get cars that don't belong, cars that park in my driveway constantly, cars that are all over the place, your ticket revenue must be up to the wazoo because they're handing out so many tickets. I'm not one, like she says, I don't call, but I know what's right and I know what's wrong and I could see. And when they left that whole thing, I forgot that name of that guy, not the city planner, one of their experts. We sat here and they fought with Joe Wisniewski, they fought with everybody on. And you know what? Joe, I'm surprised he's alive right now for what's going on down his street. I mean, you have a little bit of it where yours, where the bridge. You, Gary, have it in yours over there. But my God, what are we going to do? Another 18 unit out there and nobody's going to know about it? And we're all going to fit. And so-and-so's going to call their friend, and everybody's going to get in a car and carpool. Well, they gave enough of crap already. They have a lot that was too small. They have their facilities. I can go on and on about certain things. But sometimes the noise, the cops had to be called several times. I can't sit in my backyard. Remember that? This was the little old lady. I haven't sat in my backyard in 2 years. Because why? Oh, certain people have problems. They got flooded. That doesn't affect me, except that you're going to put out and you're going to chime your services that it annoys me. I can't hear my television. You've been there, Sal. You know this. I'm not making stories. And now we're going to do something 100%, whether it's residential, whether it's industrial. Let's get it straight for once. Let's call it what it is. Let's have the accurate amount of people or cars into that facility. Did you ever try to come over on 22nd Street, go up to Avenue E, to Broadway? I wait 5 traffic lights. Hey, it's just something waiting to be happening, a big disaster. And they lie, and they intimidate you, and they try to make you, you're old, you're stupid, you don't know. But 4 years later, the old lady knows, because she's now living there. She has no use of her backyard. I haven't even covered my pool in 2 years. 2 years. You like that? You had the bridge, Sharon.
I took my pool down.
Tack,
I took my pool down.
How about your backyard? How about you can't even have people over? How about with all the digging and the dust and the garbage that goes and blows around when you decide to do all these things? This was a residential area. It's been a residential area since the barracks were there, the Army barracks. Any old people remember that? Then they made beautiful little houses. Who wants to live there? Who's able to rent there? Think about it. My tenant lives there. Do you hear that? Yeah, I hear it. What can I do? I don't know. Guess you have to call the cops. No, don't want to bother the cops. Let's call Sal. Sal's there all the time. You deserve, I'm telling you, the Purple Heart for what you've done. And I'm telling you, this is somebody who I didn't talk to, so it's not like I had no relationship with Sal until he started seeing what was going on. And, hey, they want to do something there? They're in my neighborhood, fine. Just let them do it. Anybody who owns the property, they have the right to do it, but do it legally, just like I would have to do the same thing. I don't know what they want to do, that's why I have an interest. And truly, I wasn't even going to get up here. But I'm not going to get caught the second time with my pants down. I'm not going to get it. Because I've lost my quality of life. I retired 3 years ago. Think about it. In 2 years, I haven't been able to use my backyard. My husband will say things like, boy, all that dirt that's coming here. Look at the pool, what's doing to the pool now. Look at this, look at that. All kinds of crap. And it's not one developer. It's all of them. I have a fiberglass pool. Why am I telling you? Just to let you know. I got all of the pings and pangs in it, little things. It didn't come from me. It's been there for years. We uncovered it as soon as we saw we had to cover it back up. It's all the debris. When somebody cuts steel and it blows into my backyard. When all this other thing that goes on. I mean, I took your time. I'm obviously upset because it's like you're doing it against me. It's not going to happen to me a second time. It's not going to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
May I speak? Mike Morris, 123 Avenue C. According to what I read on social media, Walczak's Tavern had been sold, and the new owner was quoted as saying that he was going to turn that into an area grocery store. And it specifically stated, from what, and I'm quoting from what I read in the particular article that was published, was that when Janet Walczak passed away, her will contained a clause that the property would not be redeveloped for something like residential units, high-rises specifically. So that's what's out there. But what I can tell you, and I do agree with Melanie on this, is that, and I'm experiencing this right now, and I'm really pretty much fit to be tied, because you have these out-of-town developers, people who buy properties up in local neighborhoods, tell the city that they're doing one thing and they're doing something else, which is totally illegal, not pulling permits, doing as they damn well please because they can do it in Brooklyn where they live, and they get away with it. I happen to own a property next to this particular building. I see what's going on every day. I see it on my cameras. I see what they're doing, what they're bringing in, what they're taking out, what they've done, which I've had, and I had a conversation, not an actual conversation, but shared through emails with Tracy. I believe her last name is Tui Mack.
Yes.
Very nice girl, very accommodating. And I did make her aware that I would probably speak about this at this meeting, so it was a good catalyst for me to come up here, especially after Melanie's comments. There needs to be more oversight on these people, especially these developers, entrepreneurs who come in, buy properties up in Bayonne, and think that they can do as they damn well please. We follow the laws. And we have rights, we pay taxes. They pay taxes too, but we're residents, they're not. So I'm in full agreement with what Melody has to say about that particular property, and I hope that they don't put a high-rise on that building or an apartment building. Maybe two-family houses, that's fine, I'm agreeable to that. But anything more than that, no. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this your client too?
This is my client too, and this person lives in Bayonne. He's actually my next-door neighbor, and he's lived in Bayonne his entire life. So I just want everybody to know that. This isn't just somebody from out of town who doesn't care about Bayonne. They care about Bayonne. They actually rang my doorbell and said, we're buying a property, we'd like you to represent us. And we lived next door to each other for, however long, 10, 15 years, however long I've been there. I didn't know he was a developer. I had no idea. He's done projects in Jersey City, and he's looking in Bayonne. This is just, again, the preliminary steps to determine whether this qualifies as an area in need. Community input, there will be, both the planning board process, and if the city council, or if there's a committee that wants to form to create some sort of community meetings outside of that, that's the way it is. A lot of communities do that. Bayonne hasn't done that, but that doesn't mean we can't. I live here too. I care. I'll be there at those meetings. I'll make sure that everybody, I listen. I don't want this place to go the wrong way either. So, like I said, this is a preliminary thing. It's a preliminary step by a Bayonne person, a Bayonne family that's been here for, I think, over 30 years, 40 years. And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that they're invested in this community too. Thank you.
Are there any hands raised online? Look like it. Okay. So, I'm going to take that as a no. On the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
I want to thank you for speaking, and I want to make a few things clear. I asked for, excuse me, I asked for clarification tonight about community input because I was thrilled that this is now in vogue. 2.5 years ago, almost 3, when I came on, this was one of the issues that I was consistently being shot down on. Community involvement, getting into the neighborhoods and hearing what you all have to say. Specifically, I'll cite the 18-story building that was brought up tonight and tabled. A year ago, I called for a pause, okay? I also called for a study to be done to see how it impacts the neighborhood, how it impacts the community, and I was shot down then. And I held up over my head the master plan, Ms. Flora, that you talked about, and the poll that was taken on what the residents wanted to see, how tall, how wide, how short, how everything else. So I'm thrilled to death that you brought that up tonight. I was told we didn't need the pause. I was told didn't need the absorption rate in order to vote on the issue a year ago. I was one of 2 no's. Then, the other quote was, "It looks nice, I want to see it built." I won't say who said that at the meeting, but so now I'm glad my various colleagues got religion, and we're going to do this. And I'll commit to coming to the meeting, even though it's not even in my ward. Sal, when you set the date, I'll be there. Because I think this is important, and it's an issue that affects every part of the city. So I'm thrilled that I could be a trendsetter in this, and that we can now start getting more community involvement with these projects. And Mr. Maselli, I appreciate your comments. I know you're a Bayonne guy. You've taken a lot of heat tonight, but I know you have the best interest of the city at heart. And like he said, everybody wants to hear the involvement, and I'm first online, and I appreciate you bringing these issues up tonight. But incidentally, I vote aye.
Mr. Galais?
I vote aye on it too. I just think that it's just something that has to be looked into. And I know Mike Maselli will keep his word and do what he has to do.
Mr. La Palusa?
So I'm in agreement with you as far as getting the word out. When we had the opportunity uptown, I headed those meetings up with the community. And we went to a private place and had them, the meetings, and everybody got a chance to talk about what was going to happen. And we went through step by step what was going to happen. I am not against the process of the planning board. I'm not against the process of this going for the study first, and then coming back, and you'll get your shot at the planning board and up here as well. So I'm going to vote aye on this, but if there is another meeting, whether you guys put it together, Sal or whatever, I would love to come as well, even though it's not in my ward, and I would give my input if you need it. So I vote aye.
Mr. Perez?
I totally agreed with Gary on that subject, but one of the strongest things that the community should do is go to that planning board and give them, pardon my French, hell, and show and explain it. I would like to know the mechanics of before the planning board meeting, how it would work with the community. That would be great, and how it's going to affect. So I agree with Gary, but I would like to know the mechanics in the future. And Mr. Maselli, thank you for bringing that up, and I know you're a very fair man. You've always been fair, and I know that you're going to do the best for the people of Bayonne and the city of Bayonne.
And your vote?
No.
Aye.
Okay, and Ms. Nadrowski?
I'm just going to stick with it, is based on all the feedback received recently, I really think it's important that we have community input before the process begins, before it goes to planning, zoning, whatever it be. So I'm going to stick with that, and I'm going to say no.
R22 is authorizing and directing the planning board of the city of Bayonne to reopen and consider amendments to the H Street Station Rehabilitation Area Plan.
Move it.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
With this one, I don't know how anyone understands what's going on here. There's a bunch of pieces of property. This is a big area. Don't know what they're adding in. Where they're adding in is very peculiar. Definitely would require, this affects a large community. It's a huge area. And again, I think there needs to be community input before it happens. I'm not even sure if any of my colleagues, I'm not even sure what it's including, because it says along other areas along Avenue C. So I myself am confused at what exactly is in this plan. So I definitely think it needs community input, and until that's done, I'm going to vote no.
R23 is authorizing an agreement between the City of Bayonne and the Hudson County Improvement Authority for solid waste disposal services pursuant to the Solid Waste Management Plan for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st for an estimated amount not to exceed $4,800,000. That's what happens when you don't use commerce.
4,865.
For $4,865,000. Got an extra zero in there.
What's the proper number? Because on the sheet, the resolution sheet says 4.1, right? Okay.
Okay.
The resolution's right, Mayor.
This is 4.1. Okay. For an amount not to exceed $4,100,000. Who'd like to move it?
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R24 is awarding the contract to Top Line Construction Corp., Somerville, New Jersey, for the improvements to the 22nd and Avenue J in the amount of $985,229.71.
Move it.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R25 is awarding the contract to Patch Management, Inc., due to state contract T-2817 to provide pothole repair services for an amount not to exceed $50,000. Who'd like to move it?
So moved.
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais?
Aye.
Oh, go ahead.
Can I ask a question about that, please?
Sure.
Am I able to
Yeah.
ask a question?
Yeah, you can.
Mike Morris, 123 Avenue C, Bayonne. I'd like to know what the difference is between Bayonne's DPW and this company is. Why are we using an outside concern when we have the manpower, at least I believe we have the manpower, and the knowledge to fill potholes? Why are we going out to an outside concern for this?
I asked the same question, but I will ask Director Cotter to come up and explain to you like he explained to me.
Well-
I asked the same question, so it would just be best hearing it firsthand from Mr. Cotter, if you would like.
I'm fine with that, but my other question is, do they have some type of new technology that we don't have at hand?
Yeah.
I know I'm familiar with some of the technology, that's why I'm asking these questions.
So the question, yes.
You done, Mike?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Good to see you again. Haven't seen you in a while, so.
Yeah,
Thank
glad
you,
you're
Tom.
feeling better.
Thomas Carter, Public Works Director, City of Bayonne. PMI is patch management. Some people know them as pothole killers, they're
Right.
called. What they have is a truck that is all self-contained. It carries the hot product. They'll go, hose comes off for the front, fills the pothole, moves on, goes to the next spot.
That's what they're using in Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
okay, now I'm familiar. Okay, I'm
It's something
satisfied.
different. It's not going to replace our DPW workers. I've already talked to our workers about it. There are certain days where we have so many potholes after a big storm like we just seen, that they're inundated, and we can't possibly fill all those potholes at once. This would be like a supplemental program that we can use. We can use it in cold weather. It can be applied as long as it's not below 15 degrees.
Right.
So we're going to try it out, see how it works. If it does work, we will probably use them on a regular basis. I'm skeptical, I want to see, they guarantee the pothole is going to hold up. He said some of them have been for 15 years, but they guarantee them for 3 to 5 years.
Right, it's an amazing process, so I'm happy that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's something
So
different, we're going to try.
Glad to hear that
I
answer.
mean, if it helps us out, and especially on the cold days.
Right.
On the cold days when the plants are closed, we can't get hot asphalt.
Right.
So perfect example would be Chosen Few Way. We had that big pothole open up. We patch it with coal patch, 6 a.m. First thing they do, they come in, they patch it. By 11 a.m. later on that day, it's half broken up again. We're back there, putting a cone on it and waiting until we get hot patch to fix it properly. So the cold patch is a temporary fix, really doesn't hold up, especially in the cold weathers or wet weather. So.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
That's fine, that's, I was hoping that's what it was, so thank you.
Oh, okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Ms. Carroll voted yes. Mr. Galais?
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski?
Aye.
R26 is authorizing and approving the transfer of the financial agreement from Peerview Lofts Urban Renewal LLC to Parkview Realty Urban Renewal 3 LLC.
Move it.
Second.
And on that one, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.
And I have nothing else. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
And on the motion to adjourn, Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Galais. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Nadrowski.
Aye.